Hi folks, we're back. I was just taking a second look at the jobs we're leaving behind. Those three cars that I was looking for are from Oil Well North to the harbor. So that's why I was not finding them here. I was screwing up. I was expecting to find them here. They're at Oil Well Central, not Oil Well North. They're at Oil Well Central going to the harbor. But the job is here because this is the particular lost and found I was looking in. Real quick, I added up. Right now I've got, with just the iron ore, I've got 22 cars for 1,892 tons. Now I'm leaving behind 59 cars for 2,306 tons. Now, admittedly, some of those cars go to the harbor, some go to the goods factory, some go to Oil Well North, some go to food factory. So I might not have all of them on the train at once, but all but the Oil Well Central and let's see, there's one load I would have picked up at the steel mill for the harbor. There's one load I would have picked up at the Oil Well Central for the harbor. There's a load from here that goes to Oil Well North. There's loads at the steel mill that go to the iron ore mine east and the coal mine. I'm not even looking at those yet. So if you take, I would have added in the three at the Central. There's 8 cars going to the harbor, so instead of 59, I would have pulled into the steel mill with 51 and 22, 3, 5, 6, 7, 73 cars. Oh my God. If it wasn't for, I'm gonna lose this whole save game in a few hours. Overhaul is coming out. I would pull into the steel mill with 73 cars. The way it stands now, I'm going to pull into the steel mill with 22 cars. 73 to 22 is a big frickin' difference. Anyways, let's find my locomotives and get the fuck out of Dodge. We're burning gigabytes. No, I hate it when it does that. Make sure this is the front end. heading south by making sure that there's 6 locomotives here instead of 4. I gotta double check. You can run this thing either way. We got 6 on one and a 4 on the other. Alright, let's get it moving. The last gasp before Derail Valley. 22 hours, full weight. It's a weight load for 10 years. It is 1892, Granted, I wouldn't have the 8 flat cars of steel at the steel mill on here until I actually got to the steel mill. And by then, I would deliver the 1,892 tons of ore, so I wouldn't haul if you took off the 399 tons, I'd have about 3,700 tons on the train at once. 51 cars and 3,700 tons between machine factory and steel mill. But I'm not taking all those loads because I'm not going to take the time to do all those loads. I didn't do my usual run to the rear and make sure that the rear locomotives were running and everything was following along, but there's no reason for anything to be different. I may end up regretting those words because I didn't run back and check, but I think I gotta take off some power. We're going downhill and picking up speed. And I want to be able to look out the window right here. I see a lot of cars back there, and there's the rear locomotives. Perfect. Keep an eye on the map. Make sure there's no sharp bends coming up. Hear the tires, hear the wheels singing. Now, even though the front-facing locomotives are not really increasing in temperature any, hardly at all for this climb, the rear-facing locomotives could be getting hot already. So I want to reach down here and kick the fans on. Make sure the rear-facing locomotives stay cool. They don't have the ram air going through the radiator like the front-facing do. It's a pretty straight run till we get down to City Southwest, so I can just let her go. Just let it run. See how much the temperature came down? That's a mod that makes the fan functional. The way the game came out, the engine cooling fan did not work. That's a mod allowing the cooling fan to work. Look at that 65 kph and I'm not even on the throttle. The throttle's barely cracked. I could easily peg that needle, but I'd probably derail doing it, so let's not derail on my last Derail Valley video. I want to deliver this load successfully. See how close I'm getting. Yeah, I better start reducing my speed. Cut my throttle, reduce my speed. Not drastically, but... Oh, and I just missed the switch. And I just missed the switch. I saw it out of the corner of my eye as we sped past at 60 kph. Son of a bitch. Well, what would be a final Derail Valley video without going the wrong way and having to back up? I was looking at the speed and thinking about making the corner. And forgot to make sure the switch was pointing the right damn way. That's a new game mechanic in Overhauled as well. Applying the brakes. They put in a time delay for the air compressors in the locomotive to build up enough pressure to release all the brakes. The longer your train is, the more brakes there are to release. release. So if you use a lot of air for a maximum brake, it takes longer to replenish all that air loss. Remember, taking air away applies the brakes. Applying air takes the brakes off. So in the new game mechanic, it's going to take longer for the compressors to build enough air to release all the brakes. So they're talking about making minimum brake applications. So you're not dumping as much of your air pressure. A little more realism. Brake besides your train brake, and they didn't specifically talk about it, but I saw in the cab of the new big diesel locomotive, I saw a third brake handle that looked like a dynamic brake, but they didn't specifically talk about it, so I'm not going to say it's there. This one's okay. We gotta make sure the next one's pointing left as well. They didn't talk about having a dynamic brake, but there were 3 brake handles. That would be cool to have a dynamic brake. If you don't know, maybe you don't know what a dynamic brake is. It uses the electric tractive force of the truck motors in reverse. So instead of powering the trucks to make the train move, it does the opposite. It uses that electric force to retard the truck motors and thereby applying a braking force to the wheels without using any air pressure. Only uses the engines. And the electric generators that the engines power. Now there's only so much the dynamic braking can do. I mean, it can take off a few miles per hour to make a slower corner. You know, that's about it. And then you have to get into the air brakes, but they talked about, you know, with the the independent brake, if you're shunting just a couple, 3 cars and the load's not that heavy, you're going to lose less air if you only use the brakes on the train, if you only use the brakes on the locomotive to stop those 3 or 4 cars. It's going to take less time to only rebuild the air in the locomotive. And you're going to be able to roll cars freely through the yard without the brakes on. They talk about kicking cars. So you're going to have to be careful about how much speed you have on if you kick 3-4 cars down the line, expecting them to roll into the back end of the next set and stop there. You don't want them to ram into that next set very hard. Especially if it's hazmat. We're climbing the hill here. I forgot I still have the fan on, but that's okay. It won't hurt anything to keep the engines cool. Shut it off for a few minutes. It makes less noise. See, now here's the 3 cars that I would pick up at Oil Well North and take to the harbor. There's 3 empties. And that brings up something else in overhauled. Every station that you bring cars to will send empty cars back. Right now, the way the game is now, City Southwest only receives freight. There's never empties going back. And that's going to change. And the new harbor, oh my god, I don't know if you've watched the videos. Or, by the time this comes out, you'll probably have played the game. But the new harbor is gonna be freaking enormous. And then we'll hit the farm. So I have this map freaking memorized, and now with overhauled, everything is going to be different. They're talking about not even being able to recognize stations, the old stations that you were pulling into. And here's the farm. And they're talking about everything's going to be linear. Let me pull up a map. Let me pull up Steel Mill. The one we're going to. I gotta go the other way. See how the one line branches off and then there's other lines back there? That won't happen. Everything is linear, one end of the yard to the other. It expands out side to side, obviously. But there won't be anything lines over here, and then there's buildings, and then there's lines, there's rail lines, and then there's buildings, and then there's the big rail yard, but still it's all linear. I know there's switches coming up, and I know which way they have to go. And that's, you know, something else I'll have to learn over again and overhaul. I'm gonna have to learn the whole game over again and overhaul. Gonna be stumbling around doing shit wrong all the time. I believe, before I look at the map, I believe we want the first track to the right as we pull into the steel mill. Yep, coming in from the southwest, that would be the first track to the right. And here we are. Get that switch remote back out and reduce our power. And give that switch a flip. kph should be alright. I-10. And see there, right there's the 8 cars of steel railroad track. 8 cars of railroad track that we'll never take to the harbor. Kind of makes me sad, actually. I know this game is buggy and it's repetitive. You just keep doing the same thing over and over and over. But I was familiar with it. That steel. Now that could be good. Well, it's probably machine factory steel. The hoppers would certainly go to either the iron ore mine east or the coal mine. Sand's not around the corner yet. There it goes. Well, whole thing's in the yard. That means I can go validate, as long as I'll have to take a look and make sure that nothing's across the points. Looks like we stopped just in time right there. Gotta run to the other end. And this is only 22 cars. I was looking at pulling in here with 51 cars. Yeah, we got plenty of room on this end. In fact, if I was worried about leaving the switch open on that end, I'd back up a little bit, but don't really care right now. I don't know if there's anywhere I can go to get a good picture of the whole thing. Can't even see the front end from here. And that's only 22 cars, and let alone 51. I would, I would like to have seen that. Been a while since I pulled one that long. The loads just haven't been there to get one that long, and then when the loads are there to get one that long, it's the last day of the game. I know I'm farting around. I'm farting around with taking pictures. But damn it, this is the last time I'll see this version of Derail Valley. There. Well, I can't really see the rear locomotives, but you can see the length of the train, and if I went way up to one of those mountain peaks on that side, or maybe this side, I'd be able to see the whole thing. You know what I've done in the past is, if you back it out around that curve towards the farm, you can see the entire train. Even if it's 40 or 50 cars, you can see the whole thing from up here, see where the little pipper is pointing? Up there on that flat, you can see the whole thing spread out, going around that corner towards the farm. It's the one place that you can get a shot of the entire train, going around that curve towards the farm, because there's no buildings and shit in the way. But I digress, because it's time to go validate jobs and then just cancel everything that's left. What's in here? See, here's Steel Mill, the goods factory. Those 4 cars of steel are going to the goods factory. That's 4 cars in addition to what I was talking about that I had not planned on. That's 4 more cars I could have done. Here's 5 more cars I could have taken. Iron Ore Mine West. Here's 6 more cars to Iron Ore Mine East. And then here's 3 going back to iron ore mine west. Well, that's something I would simply validate and then throw in the lost and found to do sometime later. But no more of that. No more of this version of Derail Valley. Feel kind of sad, but at the same time I'm happy that the new version is coming out. You know, but I know this game. I know how to play it. But, you know, there were long periods where I didn't touch this game because it had just become so repetitive. And then the glitches are getting kind of old. There's certain tunnels that I just wouldn't use anymore. Like going across the northern, we'll call it the northern corridor, between iron ore mine west and the food factory. That stretch across the north, that thing was bugged as fuck. It was just 50-50 if you'd get across there. Which is why I used to go all the way around. I used to make the entire loop. And that's, you know, being bugged as fuck up there is why I started going up the west side and then back to the steel mill. You know, steel mill up the west side and back to the steel mill. And then steel mill up the east side and back to the steel mill. And then steel mill down to the harbor and back to the steel mill. I always use the steel mill as the central point and ran all my loads to and from this location. Here, up the west side and back, or here, up the east side and back, or here, down to the harbor and back. And then from here, you know, I might pick up shit at the harbor that's going to the goods factory or the machines factory, but it would all come through the steel mill. Because there was always shit at the steel mill going to the goods factory or the machines factory. So I knew how the system worked. There's my 5 loads. $4,229,744. Wait a second. That's not a good screenshot. Let's do that. I should have done it when it was just the money, or just the loads and the money, without the wallet. I meant to put the wallet away. There's the 5 loads I delivered. Alright, well this is coming up on 40 minutes. And we're not doing anything else. So, one last look. Run back up to the top of the hill. Top of the hill, I think I said. Overshot. One last look at the old Derail Valley. "22 cars of iron ore and 10 locomotives." Alright. We'll end the video, log off, and that'll be the last time I see this save game. But we'll be back with Overhauled. I'll have to put aside SnowRunner for a while and play some Overhauled. I'll play it every day. I'll probably play it every day for a couple of weeks before I start getting tired of seeing it. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll be back with Overhauled. Have a good night.